You know, after 23 years working as a mechanic, I thought I'd seen it all. Wrecked cars, blown engines, transmissions that sounded like broken music boxes trying to play their last song. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day. A 1969 Camaro SS rolled into my shop, pushed by a man who looked like he was carrying the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. It was a rainy Tuesday in October, one of those days where the clouds hang so low, you feel like you could reach up and touch them. I remember it clearly, because my son Jake had a football game that night, linebacker junior year, and I'd promised him, sworn to him, that I wouldn't miss this one. I'd already missed too many because of work, way too many. The kind of number that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you're making the same mistakes your own father made. But anyway, that's another story. The guy pushing the Camaro was probably in his mid-40s, maybe gray hair at the temples, the kind of calloused hands that tell you this man knows what real work feels like, hands like mine. He was soaking wet, rain running down his face in a way that made it impossible to tell if it was just water, or if there were tears mixed in there. "How much you think it'll cost to get this baby purring again?" he asked. His voice was hoarse, rough, almost a whisper, like the words hurt coming out. I got up from the Silverado I'd been working on, wiped my hands on my coveralls, the ones with my name stitched on the pocket. Dave Richardson, Richardson's Auto Repair. 23 years of oil stains and hard work on that patch. I walked over to the Camaro and just stopped. My God, this machine used to be a work of art. You could tell, even through the faded yellow paint, even past the dented front bumper and the passenger window covered with plastic and duct tape, even with 3 years of dust and neglect coating every surface. You could still see the nobility in it. It was like looking at a dethroned king, down on his luck, forgotten, but still royalty underneath it all. "Let me take a look first," I said, already pulling a rag from my back pocket. "What's the main issue?" He let out this laugh, with no humor in it. No joy, just emptiness. "What isn't the issue, you mean?" "It hasn't started in 3 years. Been sitting in my garage all that time, just sitting there, collecting dust, like a tomb. 3 years. I nodded slowly, already running through the mental checklist. Seized engine, maybe. Definitely dried out seals. Corroded fuel system. Dead battery, obviously. Probably mice nests in the air filter. 3 years of sitting will kill a car faster than 300,000 miles of driving. "All right," I said. "Let's see what we've got here. What's your name?" Michael Torres." "Nice to meet you, Michael. I'm Dave Richardson. This shop's been in my family for 30 years. I gestured at the Camaro with my wrench. "This car, it's special to you, isn't it? I can always tell." Michael's whole expression changed, like I'd just opened a door he'd been keeping locked for years. His eyes went distant, unfocused, like he was looking through me. Through the walls of the shop, through the rain, through time itself, straight into the past. "You have no idea," he murmured. I popped the hood. The hinges creaked, protested, like they hadn't been opened in forever, and what I saw inside made me let out a low whistle. The 396 cubic inch V8 engine was completely covered in dust. Thick dust, the kind that only comes from years of neglect. The belts were cracked, brittle. The wiring showed signs of corrosion, green oxidation creeping along the connections like some kind of automotive cancer. But the block was solid. This engine was built in an era when American cars were made to last, made with pride, made with the kind of craftsmanship that's become rare these days. "So," I said, already grabbing my inspection light, "while I get a better look at this, you want to tell me the story?" I clicked on the light, started examining the engine bay more closely. Usually, cars like this carry stories. Big stories. Heavy stories. And by the way your hands are shaking there, Michael, I'd say this one's a big one. Michael was silent for a long moment. I could hear the rain drumming on the roof of the shop, the distant hum of traffic on the highway, the clock on the wall ticking. Then he reached into his back pocket, pulled out an old wallet. Brown leather, worn at the edges, the kind of wallet a man carries for decades. He opened it carefully, like it contained something precious, something fragile, and he took out a photograph. The photo was faded, the edges were worn soft, but the image was clear. An older man, maybe 60 years old, standing next to this exact Camaro. Only in the photo, the car was gleaming, pristine, the yellow paint reflecting the sunlight like liquid gold. The man in the photo had a wide smile, genuine joy radiating from his face, and his arm was wrapped around the shoulders of a teenage boy, skinny, maybe 16, grinning from ear to ear. "This is my dad," Michael said. His voice cracked, broke, like glass shattering. "Roberto Torres. And that kid? That's me. I was 16 in this picture. It was the day he gave me this car. I took the photo from him carefully, like it was made of glass, held it up to the light. The happiness in that photograph was almost painful to look at, because I could see what it meant, what it represented. A father and son, a dream realized, a bond forged in grease, chrome, and Saturday mornings in the garage. Your dad had good taste," I said softly. "Had." Michael repeated that word in past tense. Had. And that single word carried so much pain, it made my chest tighten. Michael started telling me. His dad worked 30 years in a steel mill, double shifts, weekends, holidays, Christmas, Easter, 4th of July. Didn't matter. He never complained. Not once. Because he had a dream. One dream. One goal that kept him going through all those years of back-breaking labor. He wanted to restore a classic muscle car with his son, with Michael. That was his dream. That's all he wanted. Michael walked over to the side of the Camaro, ran his hand along the body. His fingers traced the lines almost reverently, like he was touching something sacred. He saved every penny, every single penny. Michael's mom thought he was crazy. She'd yell, "Roberto, we need a new refrigerator. Roberto, the roof is leaking. Roberto, why are you spending money on that pile of junk?" But Michael's dad didn't care. He had his dream, and nobody was going to take it from him. Every Saturday morning, like clockwork, he'd wake Michael up at 7 a.m. They'd go to the garage, and they'd work on this car, just the two of them. He taught Michael everything. How to change oil, how to gap spark plugs, how to tune a carburetor by ear, how to listen to an engine and know exactly what it's asking for, what it needs. I nodded. Sounds like my old man. He taught me the same way. They were men of another generation, Michael said. Men who knew the value of working with their own hands. Men who understood that some things can't be bought. They have to be built. It took 2 years to get that Camaro perfect. 2 full years. 2 years of weekends, of hands covered in grease, of skinned knuckles, of cursing when bolts wouldn't turn, of laughing when they finally got something right. 2 years of cold pizza they'd eat in the garage at midnight because they were too excited to stop working, too close to finishing to quit. 2 years of his dad telling stories about his childhood in Mexico, about coming to America with nothing, about working his way up from nothing, about how much he loved Michael's mom, about how proud he was to be his father. Michael wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. On his 16th birthday, his dad woke him up at 6 in the morning. The sun wasn't even up yet. Michael was annoyed, wanted to sleep in. It was his birthday, after all. But his dad insisted. "Ven aquí, mijo." He sighed. "That's Spanish. It means come here, my son." He always mixed his Spanish and Portuguese. Said it reminded him of home. "I got something to show you," he said. So Michael dragged himself out of bed, stumbled downstairs. His mom was in the kitchen, crying, happy tears. She knew what was about to happen. His dad led Michael to the garage, and when he opened that door, Michael's voice broke completely. The Camaro was there, spotless, perfect, gleaming under the garage. Lights like it had just rolled off the showroom floor in night, and there was this giant red bow on the hood, the kind you see in commercials. His dad put his arm around Michael's shoulder and said, "It's yours, me. You worked as hard as I did on it. You earned it. You earned every bolt, every drop of sweat, every Saturday morning. This car is yours, and I hope that every time you drive it, you remember these 2 years. Remember your old man. Remember that I love you." The rain outside seemed louder now, or maybe it was just the silence between us, Michael continued. He drove that car every single day of high school, every day. It was his pride, his joy. The other kids had their fancy new cars. He had this, and it meant more than all of theirs combined. He took his wife Sarah on their first date in this Camaro. They drove out to the lake, parked under the stars, talked until 3 in the morning. It was in that back seat, on a cool September night, that he proposed to her. She said yes, before he even finished asking. And when their daughter Emma was born, Jesus, Dave, her first ride home from the hospital was in this Camaro. Michael's smile was genuine now, real, for the first time since he'd arrived. His dad sat in the back seat, holding his grandbaby. Emma was so tiny, so perfect, and his dad had the biggest smile Michael had ever seen on his face, tears running down his cheeks. He kept whispering to her in Spanish, telling her how much he loved her, how he'd always protect her. I had to clear my throat. Your dad sounds like he was an amazing man. He was. He was my hero, my best friend, everything I wanted to be. Michael wiped his eyes again, but then everything fell apart. He walked over to my workbench, sat down heavily on the edge. His shoulders slumped, like all the life had drained out of him. 5 years ago, Dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Those words hung in the air like a death sentence. At first, it was small stuff, little things. He'd forget where he left his keys. He'd repeat the same story twice in one conversation. The family would laugh it off. "Dad's getting old," they'd say. But it got bad fast. Real fast. Faster than anyone expected. Within 6 months, he couldn't remember what year it was. Within a year, he'd forget Emma's name. Within 18 months, Michael's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Within 18 months, he didn't recognize Michael anymore. His own son. The boy he'd raised. The man he'd built a car with. He'd look at Michael like he was a complete stranger. And he'd ask Michael's mom, "Who is this man in our house?" The pain in Michael's voice was so raw, so visceral, I had to stop what I was doing. I put down my tools and just listened. Michael couldn't handle it. Couldn't his father? The strongest man he'd ever known. The man who could lift an engine block by himself. The man who never showed fear. The man who taught him what it means to be a man. That man didn't know Michael's name anymore, so he ran. He started working more. Overtime, double shifts, weekend projects, anything so he wouldn't have to go visit his dad at the nursing home. Anything so he wouldn't have to see that blank look in his eyes when he walked into the room. Sarah begged him. She'd say, "Michael, he's still your father. He needs you." But Michael couldn't. He just couldn't watch his father disappear. And the Camaro? I asked gently. Michael looked up at the car, pain etched into every line of his face. He stopped driving it. Couldn't even look at it. Every time he sat in that driver's seat, all he could hear was his dad's voice, teaching him to parallel park, explaining how the clutch works, laughing when he stalled it for the 10th time in a row. Every time he looked in the rearview mirror, he'd see his dad, sitting in the back seat, smiling, proud of him. It hurt too much. So he stopped. Just stopped. He drove it into the garage one day, 3 years ago, covered it with a tarp, and never touched it again. Michael took a deep, shaky breath. His dad passed away 3 years ago, February 14th, Valentine's Day. The universe has a sick sense of humor sometimes. Michael was on a business trip, Chicago. Some stupid corporate conference that didn't matter, that never mattered. His mom called at 2 in the morning, said his dad had taken a turn, that he should come home, immediately. He got the earliest flight he could. 6 a.m., sat in that airplane feeling like the walls were closing in, praying, begging God for just a few more hours. Just let me say goodbye. Just let me tell him I'm sorry. Michael's whole body was shaking, but he didn't make it. By the time he got to the hospital, his dad was already gone, already cold. His mom said he went peacefully in his sleep. That's supposed to be a comfort, right? That he didn't suffer? But all Michael could think was that the last words he said to his father, the last conversation they had, was 6 months before he died. His dad was in his room at the nursing home. Michael had forced himself to visit, felt guilty. His dad looked at him and asked, "Who are you?" And Michael just stood there, frozen, couldn't speak, couldn't move. And then he just turned around and walked out of that room, got in his car, and never came back. Silence. Just the sound of rain hitting the roof of the shop, the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead, the distant memory of a father and son building something beautiful together. God, Dave, Michael whispered. I wasted so much time being angry, being ashamed, being scared, running away from my own father when he needed me most. And for what? For what? He's gone now, and I'll never get the chance to say I'm sorry. Never get to hug him one more time. Never get to say thank you. Dad, thank you for everything. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for that car. Thank you for those Saturday mornings. Thank you for being my father. I put my hand on Michael's shoulder, squeezed. Sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes all you can do is be present. Michael, I said finally, why did you bring the Camaro here today, after 3 years? Why now? He pulled out another photo from his wallet. This one was recent. A young girl, maybe 15. Beautiful smile full of braces, dark hair, and Michael's exact same eyes. My daughter, Emma. She turned 16 in 2 months. Michael stared at the photo like it was the most important thing in the world. Last night, we were having dinner. Just normal conversation. And out of nowhere, Emma asks, "Dad, does that yellow car in the garage still work? Because it would be so cool if you could teach me to drive in it. You know, like Grandpa did with you." My heart clenched. When she said that, Dave, when those words came out of her mouth, it was like a bomb went off in my chest. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and I realized I was doing it again. I was making the same mistakes. I was distant, disconnected, lost in work. I was letting life pass by while I hid from the pain. I was becoming my worst fear. I was failing her the way I failed my dad. Michael looked straight into my eyes. Real, raw. This bitter. I can't bring my dad back. I can't change the fact that I was a coward, that I abandoned him when he needed me most, that the last thing I did was walk away. But I can honor his memory. I can take everything he taught me, about cars, about life, about being a father, and I can pass it on to Emma. I can turn this Camaro, this beautiful, broken machine, not into a monument to my pain and regret, but into something else, something better, a legacy of love, the way my dad wanted. I had to wipe my own eyes. Damn shop dust, always getting in your eyes at the worst times. How much do you have to spend? I asked quietly. I saved up $3,000. I know it's probably not enough to... It's enough, I interrupted him. It'll be enough. And that's when the real work began. Over the following weeks, Michael came to the shop every single day after his own work, 5:30, like clockwork. Still in his office clothes, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, ready to work. I'd show him what needed to be done, and we'd do it together, side by side, mechanic and student, just like he'd done with his father all those years ago. We changed the oil. Thick, black, 3-year-old sludge that poured out like molasses. We replaced the filters, the spark plugs, each one corroded and useless. We pulled the belts, cracked and brittle, and installed new ones. We cleaned the carburetor, piece by piece, removing years of varnished fuel. We rebuilt the brake system, replacing calipers, lines, and fluid. We fixed the electrical gremlins, tracking down shorts and bad grounds. But more than that, we talked. Michael told me stories about his dad. How he used to sing boleros in Spanish while he worked, his voice echoing through the garage. How he made the best empanadas in the world, hand-crimping each one with love. How he cried like a baby the day Michael graduated from college, the first person in their family to get a degree. How he'd tell Michael, over and over, "I'm so proud of you, me. So proud." "You know what's funny?" Michael said one evening while we were adjusting the timing. His hands covered in grease, just like mine, just like his father's had been. "The more I work on this car, the more I feel my dad here with me. It's like he's right beside me, guiding my hands, whispering in my ear, 'A little more, to the left, me.' That's it. Perfect. Just like that." "He is," I said. "Trust me, he is." There was a particularly touching moment in the 4th week. We were polishing the yellow paint, trying to bring back some of the original shine. The compound was working, slowly, the faded paint starting to glow again. Michael suddenly stopped, polishing cloth in hand, and said, "Dave, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you think my dad would forgive me for abandoning him?" I stopped too, put down my buffer, looked at him. Really looked at him. "Michael, you want to know what I think? I think your dad never had anything to forgive. Alzheimer stole his mind, but not his heart. And a father's heart always understands, always forgives. He loved you the day he gave you this car, and he kept loving you even when he didn't know who you were anymore, even when he couldn't remember your name, even when his mind was gone. That kind of love doesn't die, ever." Michael nodded, tears streaming down his face, but this time he was smiling, really smiling. The big day came on a Friday in December. Cold, clear sky. The kind of day where the sky is so blue it almost hurts to look at. It was 4 in the afternoon. The golden hour. Perfect light streaming through the garage doors. We'd checked everything twice. 3 times. The Camaro was ready. As ready as it would ever be. "You want to do the honors?" I asked Michael. He nodded, unable to speak. Climbed into the driver's seat. His hands were shaking as he reached for the key. The same key his father had given him 27 years ago. The same key that had started this engine thousands of times. The same key that held so many memories. "Turn it," I said softly. Michael turned the key. The engine coughed once, sputtered. My heart sank. Then it coughed again, caught, held, and then it roared back to life. That sound. My God, that sound. The glorious, thunderous roar of a classic V8 rumbling back from the dead. It echoed through the shop like an anthem, like a symphony, like a prayer answered. Michael started laughing and crying at the same time, pounding on the steering wheel with pure, unfiltered joy. "It works, Dave, it works. It actually works." "Of course it works," I said, grinning so hard my face hurt. "Your dad built this to last forever." We let it idle for a while, listening, feeling, making sure everything was running smooth. The exhaust note was perfect. Deep, throaty, powerful, the way a Camaro SS is supposed to sound. We made a few final adjustments, tweaked the idle, checked for leaks, verified all the gauges. Everything was perfect. The Camaro was alive again, reborn, ready for the next chapter of its story. "Take it for a drive," I told Michael. "See how she feels." Michael drove it around the block, then around again, then again. When he finally came back, he was beaming. She drives like a dream, Dave. Like an absolute dream. Better than I remember. She's ready, I said. Ready for Emma. The following Saturday, Michael came back. But this time, he wasn't alone. His wife Sarah was with him. A beautiful woman, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a warm smile. And Emma, 15 years old, tall, graceful, with her grandfather's smile and her father's eyes. When Emma saw the Camaro sitting there, gleaming yellow in the winter sunlight, she screamed, actually screamed, a sound of pure teenage joy. She ran to her father and threw her arms around him. Dad, oh my God, Dad, you actually did it. You fixed Grandpa's car? Not just me, Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. He looked up at the sky for a moment. We did it. Me, Dave, and your grandfather, all three of us. Sarah was crying, happy tears. She came over and hugged me. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving him back to us. Michael opened the driver's door and gestured to Emma. Come on, honey, it's time. Time for me to teach you how to drive. The way my dad taught me, the way his dad taught him. It's a family tradition, and today, we're keeping it alive. Emma climbed into the driver's seat, her hands trembling with excitement. She looked so small behind that big steering wheel, so young, but so ready. Michael got in beside her on the passenger side, but before he closed the door, he turned back to me. Dave, I don't know how to thank you. You didn't just fix a car. You helped me fix myself. You helped me find my way back to my daughter, back to my father's memory, back to the man I'm supposed to be. You don't need to thank me, I said, my voice rough with emotion. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Promise that when Emma turns 18, 25, 35, when she has her own kids someday, you'll keep telling the story of Grandpa Roberto. Keep his memory alive. Keep this tradition alive. That's how we really honor the people we love. Not by hiding from the pain, but by celebrating what they gave us, by passing it on. I promise, Michael said, his hand gripping mine tight. I promise. I watched them pull out of the parking lot, Emma behind the wheel, driving slowly, carefully, her father beside her pointing and instructing, Sarah following behind in their SUV, filming everything on her phone. Tears of joy streaming down her face, and I swear on everything I hold sacred, I don't know if it was the sun reflecting off the windshield, or my imagination working overtime, or something else entirely, but for just a second, one brief perfect second, I could have sworn I saw a fourth passenger in that Camaro, an older man in the back seat, gray hair, work-worn hands, the biggest smile I'd ever seen, looking at his son and granddaughter with pride and love and joy beyond measure. And then they turned the corner, and they were gone. The sound of that Camaro's engine fading into the distance. But the memory, the feeling, the meaning of what had just happened, that would stay with me forever. You know, people think being a mechanic is just about fixing cars, just about oil changes and brake jobs and diagnostic codes. But it's not. It's so much more than that. It's about fixing dreams. It's about giving people second chances. It's about understanding that sometimes a piece of metal and fiberglass and chrome can carry more love, more history, more meaning than 1,000 words could ever express. 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail. Inside was a photograph. Emma, now with her driver's license, standing proudly next to the Camaro, the yellow paint gleaming, the car looking better than it had in years. And on the back, written in Michael's handwriting, was this: Dave, Emma passed her driver's test on the first try. Dad would be proud. I know he is. Thank you for reminding me that it's never too late to honor those we love. Never too late to come home. Your friend, Michael Torres. P.S. Emma wants to be a mechanic now. Says she wants to help people the way you helped us. I think Grandpa Roberto is up there smiling even bigger. I put that photo on the corkboard above my workbench, right next to the photos of my own kids, my own family, my own memories, because that's what this job is really about. Not the cars, the people, the stories, the connections, the healing. That yellow 1969 Camaro wasn't just a car. It was a bridge between generations. It was forgiveness. It was redemption. It was love in the form of steel and chrome and gasoline. It was a father's dream, a son's regret, a granddaughter's future, all wrapped up in one beautiful, powerful machine. And every time I see a yellow Camaro driving down the street now, I smile. Because I know that somewhere, Michael is teaching Emma how to change the oil, how to tune the carburetor, how to listen to the engine and know exactly what it's asking for. Just like Roberto taught him. Just like Roberto's father taught Roberto. The legacy continues. The love continues. The story continues. And maybe, just maybe, that's what life is really about. Not the mistakes we make, but how we fix them. Not the time we waste, but how we reclaim it. Not the regrets we carry, but how we transform them into something beautiful. Well, that was my day today. Tomorrow, there'll be more cars, more stories, more people walking through that door with problems that go way deeper than what's under the hood. But this one, this story, this yellow Camaro and the man who pushed it into my shop on a rainy Tuesday in October, this one will stay with me forever, until the next time someone pushes a piece of history, a piece of their heart, through my shop door. Because I'll be here, waiting, ready to listen, ready to help, ready to fix. Not just cars, but lives, but hearts, but families. That's what we do. That's who we are. We're mechanics. And sometimes, if we're really lucky, we get to be so much more.